Alright, so I thought I'd outline a few more further demonstrations that bivalent logic in itself is just garbage, right? So this is pointing out that the law of excluded middle is bullshit. As a general principle for a logical approach to everything, excluded middle is fucking no. You can't. Okay? So, loaded polar questions. So, polar question is you can answer it yes or no, or you're supposed to answer it with yes or no. And yeah. So, do you remember your past lives? Is an example. So, responding no here. Responding yes, okay, I don't know what to do with that other than just take you at your word. But if you respond no, okay, now we get into some interesting territory because that implies that you agree that you had past lives but have simply forgotten them. Okay, which means that if you don't actually believe in reincarnation, you can't answer this question with a yes or a no. Okay, your response, the only way you can correctly respond is with something other than a yes or a no, right? But it's a polar question, so it's asking, right? Is it true or false that you remember your past lives? In a bivalent logic, those are your only options. So, yeah, you can't answer this question correctly, right? So this invalidates bivalent logic, all right? Now, also, the simple fact that you can't know everything, okay, that's also a problem here, right? So, will there be a colony on the moon within a century? You don't know. You don't know. Right? Responding either yes or no is just going to be nonsense because you know full well that you don't have the slightest clue what is going to happen in this regard. You might say there's even a project to make this happen. You don't know that it will succeed. You have no idea. You might be optimistic and hope that it happens, or you might be pessimistic and be like, no, I'm pretty sure we're never going to actually succeed in this. But you don't know. So either yes or no is just nonsense to this. You need a third, at least, possible answer here in order to get this to make sense. Okay. Also, just the basic definitions of things throws a wrench in bivalent logic, right? So it is reasonable to say that dogs have 4 legs. But do all dogs have 4 legs? Well, obviously a yes answer implies that a 3-legged dog is not a dog. Why is it suddenly not a dog? Just because, you know, maybe it had a birth defect or it was injured and it lost part of its leg. Like, that's just fucking stupid. To say that that dog is not a dog because it only has 3 legs or 2 legs or all of its legs are missing and it's a little dog worm, right? That very giddily, whenever it sees you, like, it gets excited and wags its tail and its whole, like, body and is just, like, writhing on the ground in joy. Like, that's still very much a dog. Okay? What are you doing? Right? A no answer, that invalidates the basic notion that dogs have 4 legs. Right? But that's true of dogs. Dogs have 4 legs. That's just a general, accurate description of a dog. Like, if you're gonna describe a dog, all right, you're probably gonna be like, well, it's a human-sized or smaller, furry, ridiculously happy animal that will eat anything, including its own shit, and it loves to see people for the most part. You know, like, you can add to this description as much as you want, but 4 legs is probably going to be in there. It's probably going to be part of it. They tend to have fur, but there are furless dog breeds. They tend to have tails, but some dogs, their tails are bobbed when they're puppies. They tend to have pretty big ears, but some dogs have their ears docked when they're puppies. Like, yeah, it's a problem. But a basic definition of a dog is going to include those things. And that the fact that, like, There are dogs that don't necessarily have all of those traits. That doesn't invalidate their dogness, right? And the fact that there are dogs that don't have those traits doesn't invalidate the fact that those are general traits of dogs, right? So here, bivalent logic fails just with the basic definition of things, okay? But also, so any variation on the liar's paradox, which includes diagonal arguments in general, like Russell's paradox, like they're all, or the first of Kurt Gödel's incompleteness theorems, right? That's basically just a liar's paradox. There's a whole bunch of these, and they're all named, and that's retarded because they're all the same thing. They're all just a liar's paradox, right? So an example of that is, this sentence is a lie, okay? So clearly this can't be either true or false. If you're unfamiliar with liar's paradoxes, well, I don't know what to tell you. There's one right there. You can work it out for yourself. Also, just the existence of questions, right? So, like, is this question false? Think about that for a second. What the fuck does that even mean? Right? That's a polar question. That's a yes or no question. What does it mean if you say yes? What does a yes answer to that question mean? Is this question false? Yes. What the fuck does that mean? Is this question false? No. What the fuck does that mean? That doesn't mean anything. It doesn't make any goddamn sense. Okay? Right. And the ultimate problem here, so this is far from an exhaustive list, this is just some examples of some basic ass shit that invalidates bivalent logic. But the base problem here is when you're trying to say that thought should be based around logic, that logic tells us how we ought to think, how we ought to reason, that denies the fact that we can talk about these things. Okay? Our reasoning capabilities, our thinking capabilities handles this. I'm able to say these sentences that don't make any fucking sense in a bivalent logic. We're able to talk about it. We're able to propose the possibility of at least a trivalent logic or a pentavalent logic. I think really my earlier examples work best in at least a pentavalent logic. But yeah, some multivalent logic is definitely required here. And you have to have the ability to say, wait, that question is fucking trash. And you have to have the ability to say, no. You've implied things that are not actually true. And just a yes or a no response to that doesn't work. And you have to be able to say, well, yeah, this definition, it applies to, like, the category. But this individual, something occurred, something weird happened. It's still part of the category, but it doesn't actually have all the traits of the category because something strange happened to it, right? But the fact that it doesn't have 4 legs doesn't invalidate the fact that it's a dog. The fact that this chicken has no feathers doesn't mean it's not a chicken, right? So, yeah. There's very, very basic shit at play here that fucking toddlers are dealing with when they're learning language, okay? Like, they are adept enough at thought and reason to figure this shit out, and they can't even, like, well, do almost anything yet, right? So, it's not this hard, is my point. It's not this goddamn hard, okay? Thinking and reasoning is not actually this fucking hard for us, okay? What's making it hard is the artificial enforcement of bivalent logic. Oh, it's got to be true or false, and there's no possibility of anything in between. That's bullshit, right? So, going back to up here, right? So, what I was saying with a pentatonic, okay, not music, pentavalent logic is, so here this true, it's not a hard true, right? So we can say that this is a hard true, right? That our proposition coming in is, we can confirm that one, right? Because that's our input. We're in a better position to be like, okay, this is real, or this is definitely fake, okay? But the output, it's speculative. So it's a soft true, right? So you should expect some possibility of a false answer coming out here, right? You should expect that to some degree, okay? Now, this soft true, it might be like 99% true, okay? Like 99% of the time. Like a billion out of 1,000,000,001 times. It's true. That's pretty hard. But we're still going to accept, like, well, because it's a prediction, and we're not fucking solipsists, because it's a prediction, and there is something happening outside of my own conscious mind, we should expect that sometimes we're going to be wrong. Okay? And so there needs to be not only a hard true, but also a soft true. Not only a hard false, but also a soft false, which you could render as a lowercase f. And just, I don't know. I don't know is a perfectly valid answer. Right? Like with this one down here. Will there be a colony on the moon within a century? I don't know. That's a perfectly fine answer. And it contrasts with yes and no. It contrasts with true and false. It is a third option. It is the middle that you're excluding artificially. Okay? But it needs to be in there in order for us to function. In order for us to be able to think and reason, you have to be able to acknowledge when you don't know shit. That's a basic fucking thing. Okay? So this can't be the way that thought and reason ought to occur. You cannot operate in a bivalent system. That's just bullshit.